Welcome aboard. I've come down today to check on this generator. I've heard that it runs for 3 or 4 minutes and then stops. So I'm going to start it up and just have a look and see what kind of a fault code it shows me. Okay, so the engine's shut down and it appears the fault code is a 7 flash indicated on the panel here. Which, if I go down the bottom here and I look at my fault codes, number 7, 7 flashes, no raw water. So, most probably some kind of a blockage or the impeller has failed. So, we'll check the sea strainer and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got our fault code. So one of the first things we're going to have a look at is the sea strainer, and is it blocked? Has it got some foreign things in it? So I've closed the ball valve already, I've half undone the cap. So I'll quickly remove the cap and have a look inside. Something you want to regularly check this. Okay, so remove the gasket. Alright, it's a bit dirty, but it's not clogged. I'll just check my water flow at the same time. And there seems to be plenty of water coming through. So that's off the first thing off our list. We'll move on to checking other parts of the engine to find out what the problem is. So this is our raw water pump, and it's quite easy to gain access to the impeller. We just got to remove these couple bolts here, which doesn't take much, and it just requires a 7/16 spanner. So we'll just speed this little piece up for you while I undo these bolts. So the bolts are out, so I just got to remove the end cap. It can take a little bit of work sometimes, so I'll just use a screwdriver just to help lever it. There we go. And that's the end cap there. And if we have a little look around the corner here, just as I expected, we've got ourselves a burnt out genset impeller. So just using a screwdriver, I'll lever that out. They can be a bit of a fight sometimes. Okay, so yes, that's quite damaged, that impeller. So I'm going to have to fit a new one. So you've got to remember, there is a keyway in here and you have to line it up with this key on here. So you'll have to do a bit of a hand movement while you're pushing the impeller in, making the shape of the housing and lining up the key. It's a little handful. A lot of people enjoy putting the grease on the impeller. Myself, I like to put it in the housing. It gives me a little bit more control over the rubber. It's not all slippery in my hand. But the grease is all about lubrication on startup. Until you get the water through, this will prevent the impeller from being burnt out. I've got the location on my keyway, which is on the far side here. So I'll start about 180 degrees away from that position. So when I finally end up in the right position into the housing, it'll all line up. And that's how easy it is. So now that's fitted, just need to put a little bit of grease around the O-ring here on the front of the housing. Refit the end plate. There you go, the end plate's in. So that's all sealed up. I'll put my bolts in and then I'm going to go looking for where's the rest of that impeller, which will be down through this hose and in the heat exchanger. So we've finished installing the impeller. Now it's time to find all the parts that come from this impeller. They're most probably stuck in the heat exchanger and the hoses. So I'm going to remove the cap now and have a bit of a look inside. You're going to need a 13mm socket and a ratchet and a small extension bar. Simply undo that. And there are the parts. So to see along those pliers, I'm just going to dig out these bits and pieces. Which are well caught up. It's important to remove these because these will just cause future blockages which will lead to more genset impeller failures. There's also a little bit of shell there which I'm just going to poke around a little bit, just clean that out, break it up. Some weed. Okay, so looks like I've accounted for most of the parts, which is a good thing. I'm going to refit the cup now and starting checking on our water flow. It's always a good thing to have your mechanics check these every year. A lot of debris will get caught in your heat exchanger, which can cause cavitation with your pump and your impeller and result in this problem. Okay, so let's move forward to running the engine up and see how it goes. So, let's go run the engine up again now, see if it runs cool and properly. Okay, as you can see, the light's gone out, the engine works perfect, you're a hero, you fixed the impeller, it's not a deal breaker and you don't have to go home, so happy boating.